Jason, this movie's got a lot to live up to.
Hello and welcome to the Cavern of Terror.
Boogeyman 2 stars Danielle Sarv, I hope I pronounced that name right, and is directed by Jeff Betancourt. Part 2 in the Boogeyman series opens up with a birthday celebration for the character of Laura when she's a lot younger. This celebration goes deadly very quick. Red fiber on my shirt. Rid of that. Laura and Henry's parents are brutally murdered by an intruder. This manifests into a fear of the Boogeyman and a title sequence that is exactly the same as the first film, except for this one has a number 2 on it. 10 years later, another time jump. Interesting. Henry has been released from a mental clinic and he's off to California for a job interview. This leaves Laura vulnerable. This actually lands her in the same mental clinic.
If you want to conquer your fears, you have to understand the darkness within.
Sticking with Laura and the actress that plays her, more importantly, Danielle Sarv, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, I thoroughly enjoyed her performance here. I felt for this character that is still clearly suffering from childhood trauma. She goes above and beyond for this character. She gives one of the better performances that I've seen in a movie like this. This could be a hot take, but could Boogeyman 2 be the Dream Warriors of the Boogeyman series? I wouldn't go as far as saying that this is a ripoff of the famous Nightmare sequel, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, but I could definitely see some inspiration here that was definitely drawn from that film.
It's all a bunch of lies, you poor stupid son of a bitch.
A new girl joins a mental clinic and a bunch of teenagers that have very specific fears. This sounds a lot like Nightmare 3. I feel like the thing that separates Boogeyman 2 from being a direct ripoff of Nightmare 3 is that it veers away from the supernatural take. They go in a much more realistic, brutal, visceral direction. Going further yet into this dive, the first Boogeyman film is purely a supernatural horror thriller, where this sequel is very much a brutal slasher. Speaking of slashers, the kills in this movie are brutal. As I said, this is a very visceral film. There's a lot of pretty brutal kills here, and did I mention the chest spreader? Wow, yes, some of the kills are off screen, but the after effects are there. Man, the effects used in this film, considering the low budget of $4 million, go from $20 to $4 million, it's pretty impressive. That being said, guys, how's the killer? How is the Boogeyman in this one? I couldn't help but love this version of the character. Boogeyman in this movie is 100% a real person. There is no CGI. I loved the look of the character in this one. The mask with the hair kind of reminded me of the killer from Shrooms, and I was impressed. His kills were cool. He was a badass. Really dug the Boogeyman here. Remember what I said in my first review of the first Boogeyman film, that having a stunt performer and practical effects, practical makeup, guys, it works. It only makes this sequel better. Boogeyman 2 takes a lot of time developing each and every one of these patients in this mental asylum. I believe it's Hill Ridge, I think that's what it's called. I can't quite remember that, but they did take a lot of time on each character. We really knew who these characters were by the end of the film. Over there, is that Simon Camden?
Every culture around the world has a name for him.
Everyone's afraid of something.
Man, they got another brother from the Camdens from Seventh Heaven for this film? That's awesome. Aside from the kids, I was actually a pretty big fan of Tobin Bell's character of Dr. Allen quite a bit as well. I got a Jared Harris from The Ward vibe. You know that John Carpenter movie I reviewed years ago? I may have to review that one again as well. But I've got that kind of vibe with his character. I can tell that he genuinely cared about these kids. He might have been going about some of his things a little too extreme, but he did genuinely care. I do have to admit though, as soon as he got out the tape recorder, I got a little nervous. Believe it or not, guys, I actually really liked all these characters. They all felt very real to me. Sticking with the characters, guys, and the things that I liked about this movie, not only did we get one, but we got two scenes, man. I may have picked the best movies to come back with. On the technical side of things, I really only have one thing to cover, and that's the fact that this movie is very gray. I like to call this the police interrogation room color palette. Down to the lighting in most every scene, aside from the dark scenes where there's a lot of low lighting, it looks like every interrogation scene you've seen from every police drama ever. Unlike the first movie, which I do genuinely really like, I really enjoyed the third act of this. It's a crazy cat and mouse game with a ton of tension. There's one scene in particular where Laura is trapped in this like sort of filing room. They've been there twice in the movie, and she's just stuck in there, and there's no sound in this. There's no score, no one talks, and she's being stalked by the killer. And you think that this scene is going to end with a jump scare. It doesn't, and it's amazing for it. In the end, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna have to give Boogeyman 2 a metal claw. I am absolutely not kidding with you. This sequel to the Boogeyman did practically everything better. I liked the story, I liked the characters, I liked the killer. And I couldn't help but like that they had the balls to go from a supernatural film to a slasher. Unfortunately, I think that Boogeyman 2 gets forgotten or overlooked due to the fact of what series it's in and the time frame that it came out. Not a lot of people were watching slashers in 2007 when this movie came out, 2 years after the first film. And unfortunately, I feel like it kind of gets forgotten in that aspect. But this is a great slasher film, in my opinion. Jason, you were very much right. Jason from Sinister Cinema Reviews was trying to get me to watch this movie and told me that it was great, and I believe you. It's great. Guys, check this movie out. Okay guys, that has been my review of Boogeyman 2. What did you guys think of Boogeyman 2? If you've seen it, let me know down in the comments down below. Guys, I have one more movie to go over in the Boogeyman franchise, and that is Boogeyman 3. I'm getting ready to film my review for it. We're gonna have fun with that one. One way or the other, we're gonna have fun with that one. Trying not to spoil anything here, but we're gonna have fun. I got a lot of things coming to the channel, guys. I have the conclusion of my Final Destination reviews coming up with the Final Destination and Final Destination 5, Boogeyman 3, obviously, and I think we're going to do a couple of one-off horror films as well. I got a couple things coming down the pipeline I think you're going to be very interested in, and I believe we're going to start a Nightmare on Elm Street individual videos, because I did a long video of every one of them that I reviewed, but they weren't as in-depth as my in-depth movie reviews, so I believe I'm going to do that series as well. So until I see you guys in the next video, I've been Zach, this has been the Cavern of Terror. Stay metal, my friends.